Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the regular Board of Education meeting here on March 21st. Also my wedding anniversary, not that anybody cares, but...
I care.
Oh, thank you.
You didn't invite Bob? Where's
And
Bob?
she's still here, really.
know.
You could have come for the...
Yeah, Bob declined to come to the celebration at the Board of Ed meeting. So just quickly, a little housekeeping. The Open Public Meeting Statement, in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975 announcement, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the school districts of the Chatham's Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, place thereof posted at the Board Administrative Offices, sent to the clerks of the Chatham Borough, the Chatham Township, the Library of the Chathams, the Chatham Courier, the Daily Record, and the Star Ledger. Mr. DeQuilla, would you mind doing roll call?
Mr. Gilfillan. Mr. Honor. Here. Ms. Chimarelli.
Here.
Ms. Clark.
Here.
Mr. Connors. Ms. Cronin.
Here.
Mr. Franz. Here. Ms. Kenny.
Here.
And Ms. Weber.
Here.
7 present in the county.
Thank you. Would everybody stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, again for coming. I do not have any opening comments. We did just leave a public finance meeting, so we had some comments then, which we could certainly recap. I think Kim Cronin's going to do the recap of that during her report. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to Dr. LaSousa's superintendent report.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I'm going to get a do-over. I'm going to milk it through the week with Bob, so don't feel too bad for me.
So it works in my house, too. 2 items from me. The first is just a snow day update to clarify an article that appeared in one of the local newspapers. Usually every year, about in April, we give a snow day update based on how many we have remaining. Our teachers' agreement between the board and the Chatham Education Association calls for, we have 5 days built into the calendar, and then it calls that if we have existing snow days toward the end of the year, a maximum of 2 of them will be quote-unquote given back or applied to the Memorial Day weekend. So we haven't formally made any decision yet. Usually in our April meeting or our first meeting in April, that's when we officially change the school calendar. So on April 4th, when we have our next meeting, we will have a resolution on the board agenda to officially change the school calendar so that the Thursday and Friday before Memorial Day weekend, assuming we don't have any other snowstorms or other problems, will be days off from school. And then once we do that, in years past, what we always do is the day after the board meeting, we send some kind of an alert out to the parent community to let them know that those days are off now.
Okay. But that's posted in the calendar.
Yes, the calendar
in
denotes,
advance.
correct.
Okay.
How many do we have left?
3 and...
We have 3, basically 3. We really have 4 at most of the schools, but the high school was shut for 2 days.
Okay.
So we have 3.
And it's a max of 2.
But it's a max of 2,
Even if
so
we use 0, we'd still max out at 2.
yes.
And if there was an unforeseen thing that happened after we voted, we would just vote again to put it back on the calendar?
Yes.
Okay.
Knock wood.
Well, I'm just saying.
And then the only other item I have is to recognize under the personnel section of the agenda that Mary Quigley is retiring after 42 years in education. She also spent, of those 42 years, 21 as a school principal, including 13 here in Chatham. So obviously, needless to say, she's been a pillar of the educational community here. She's been just a mainstay at Washington Avenue School, and we'll miss her. We wish her luck. We're happy for her. But we will get to work right away on securing a replacement. I was hoping to just grab the ear very quickly of the members of the Personnel Committee to review timeline and process. And Ms. Weber has volunteered to serve on the committee that we have to help select the new principal when we get there in another month or so.
Yeah, we're going to miss Mary. She's been an excellent addition, and she's really made an impact the last 13 years. she's done her time though, so as much as I'd like to say don't accept her resignation, she's earned her rest.
She certainly has earned it. And it was funny, we were just remembering that her school was really the first one to push smart boards in the district. And the first smart boards, in partnership with Kim Cronin and some of the others over there, were put in. Washington Avenue School was the first school, I believe, that had smart boards throughout the building. And Mary's just been terrific at moving the district forward and moving Washington Avenue School forward. And
Right.
we'll miss her.
She's, what I noticed most about Mary is it didn't matter what the noise was around, she was going to forge ahead with what was best for the child. I've seen her manage parents, I've seen her manage other teachers, and I've seen her manage, at the time, Jim O'Neill, her superintendent. And it was just a matter of how is she going to get everybody to fall in line to do what's best for the student. And it may have taken her longer than she would hope, but at the end, everybody got in line to do what was best for the student. So it was really, she was tenacious about not backing down. If she felt strongly that this was the right thing for a student, she forged ahead without question.
42 years as an educator.
Yep. So we're gonna miss her. Will they announce something at the Washington Avenue I know they often do a group retirement.
I'm sure, but I don't know, I don't have any information on that yet.
Sure thing. You'll let us know though.
Will do.
I just have one other question on a calendar topic. Last meeting, we had discussed adding a potential half-day back for the January. Has there been additional discussion, or will that come up in policy? Okay,
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting, and we would finalize that by the end of the school year
okay.
for next year's calendar.
It would be for 2017 anyway? Okay. That would come up in policy, though? Or you don't know which?
I think we've done calendar in policy.
Okay. Okay, very good. Did you have any other items?
No, that's it for me.
That was it? Does anybody have any questions for
Thank you.
Dr. LaSousa? No, good. Good to go. Mr. DeQuilla, would you mind doing
I
a...
have nothing to report at this time.
Fantastic, thank you. Hi, Rich, how are you? Let the record reflect, Mr. Connors has joined us. Moving on to committee reports. Ms. Clark, for personnel?
Personnel met on March 9th. It was a brief meeting. We just revisited the structure of the committee, and ironically, we talked about filling administrative vacancies and the process by which the district would go about filling those vacancies moving forward.
Excellent. And you're having a quick meeting after this meeting?
Yes, we're
personnel?
going to have a brief meeting. If anyone on personnel, if you could just stick around for a few minutes.
Okay. 2 minutes? Okay, very good. So those on personnel, please stand by after the meeting. Moving on to curriculum, Ms. Kenny?
Yes, curriculum met on March 9th. We had a preview presentation from Doug Walker on the report on graduates, and he'll be presenting on April 4th to the full board. We also had a very preliminary conversation about the after-school robotics club, and the administration is assessing staff interest in serving as an advisor should it be possible to expand the offerings as it relates to robotics. And that was it.
Any questions for Ms. Kenny or Ms. Chase? No? Moving on to finance, Mr. Gilfillan is away. Ms. Cronin is going to stand in for Mr. Gilfillan as the chair.
And unfortunately, I don't have all the budget numbers, but we just had an open budget meeting, and I don't know if maybe Pete should do a recap just to give what the total numbers were.
Sure, we just had the open meeting, and essentially the budget as it stands right now, the preliminary budget that would be submitted to the county superintendent tomorrow, should the full board approve it in a little while, calls for no additional programming in the district, but no cuts to any existing program in the district. So it's a maintenance or status quo budget. Given a significant rise in our health insurance rate at the moment of approximately 19%, the budget would have a tax levy impact of 2.55%. And it was the direction or directive of the Finance Committee and recommendation to the full board to maintain the tax levy increase at 2.55%. And even though there's banked cap and additional monies available to increase the tax levy further to incorporate items into the budget that have been requested by principals, the Finance Committee felt that 2.55% should be the max, and that we should not add any positions into the budget at the current time. since there are some items that principals have requested that we do believe have merit, we are considering, or the Finance Committee would consider, putting forth a second question to the public in November, or just putting those positions on hold and seeing as the cards play out toward the end of the year and we have additional retirements potentially that come through, looking to fund some of those positions in that way. And that's the summary.
And I'll just give some other things that we talked about. We talked about the sailing club had asked for some funding, and we had decided not to fund it because they've only been in it for, I think it was 3 seasons or 4 seasons they were looking at it. But the past practice has been 3 years, not by season, before we give any funding. So we are not going to be funding the sailing club this year. And the other thing we talked about was Washington Avenue driveway, and we're just waiting for the borough to get back to us since we voted down to accepting their proposal. That's it.
Thank you. And hopefully we'll have an update on that. There's a meeting on the 24th at 8 a.m. at the Borough Hall, so hopefully we'll have an update on that at the next meeting. Any questions for the Finance Facilities Committee? I'm sorry.
What was the date of that?
Thursday the 24th. Any other questions for Finance? Moving on to Policy and Planning, Mr. Franz?
We haven't met since our last meeting.
Okay, very good, thank you. Moving on to the liaison reports, Mr. Connors for the Borough.
Nothing to update. We've already touched upon the issue between the borough, Washington Avenue, and the neighbor. Other than that, there's nothing related to the board.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Township, Ms. Clark?
There's 2 things that have come up. Mr. Ritter, the mayor of the township, contacted me. One, it has to do with Delwood and parking behind on Delwood. The township and Borough Police Department have been working to try to increase signage and education for the students and parents who are using that as a drop-off, pickup, and parking location. And it's also come to the township committee meeting too that residents are concerned and that there's a bit of a safety risk. So they're asking if we could just be aware. They're going to do their part to put more signs up to limit parking and drop-off and pickup areas at certain times. And that's basically what he said, and just they're trying to educate people about how to use that area to be sensitive to the needs of the neighbors. The next thing that he emailed me last night about was the Darkness Walk, which is going to be held at Chatham High School on September 24th. This is an initiative that the township is supporting and moving forward, and it has to do with suicide prevention. And so it's the way it was described to me, it sounds similar to Relay for Life, but with a different twist on it. So those were the 2 things that came up from the township.
Interesting. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Clark? No? Moving on to the athletic boosters, Mr. Connors?
The athletic boosters have not met since our last meeting. They will be meeting, I think, next April 5th, which is the first Tuesday in April. I will note that the spring season is underway, and congratulations to all of our winter programs, sporting programs that have excellent seasons.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else for Mr. Connors, athletics? Is that their final meeting, or they still have one in May?
No, they'll have one in May, and I suspect they'll probably have one in June, because I think the school closes so when, so they do it the first Tuesday. So
Okay.
I'm expecting at least
Couple
2
more.
evenings.
Okay.
Can I just make a quick winter note, just to congratulate Michael Kellstrom on making it to states this year, the first wrestler in 6 years ever to make it to Atlantic City. Pretty amazing feat. There are only 335 wrestlers in the state that make it there, and for somebody from Chatham with such a small program to make it to Atlantic City is pretty amazing. So he had a great run and a great season, and it was fun to go down and watch him wrestle, and in such a venue like that. So wish him the best in college with football, but he made some big strides in wrestling. So
Good for him.
yeah.
He's come a long way. He's worked really hard for that. Imagine how long that report would have been if Mr. Nonamaker gave it. Who had a hand in his success throughout the years. But congratulations to Michael Kellstrom, who's going on to St. Lawrence for football, hanging up his wrestling cleats. Very good. Moving on to Chatham Education Foundation, Ms. Kenny?
Yes, okay. This year, the Chatham Education Foundation is having its annual fundraising event. This year, it's called the CEF Celebration, 1 Million Reasons to Celebrate. They veered this year from our traditional Taste of Chatham to celebrate the $1 million that they've raised in grants as their major milestone. The event will be held on April 1st, and there'll be food, wine, and beer provided by Fairmount Country Club with live music provided by Zero Balance. They're hoping that the weather cooperates and not snow, and that they will have a Scotch tasting on the patio with cigars available for purchase, possibly from Cuba. That's me, not them. That was my editorial, sorry. There'll also be a silent auction running as well, and we'll also have 2 giving trees focused on fundraising towards the district initiatives, one called Enhancing Student Access to Technology, and second, Creating Learner-Friendly Classrooms. And they've been working with, the CEF has been working with Dr. LaSousa on making these 2 initiatives happen. And if you'd like to add anything on that, please, you can add anything on those 2 initiatives, if you'd like.
Sure. Earlier in the year, I met with the Board of Trustees for CEF, and we talked about, areas of focus within the school district. One of them, obviously, is technology integration and how we're moving forward in that regard. And, of course, we've hit up CEF for many, many Chromebook carts over the last couple of years, as well as our generous PTOs. And the other was the more flexible, kind of learner-friendly furniture that we have been sort of infusing into our classrooms. So they came back in preparation for this event and asked if we could put some meat on those bones about specific ideas and furniture and potentially technology purchases that they could categorize and sort of generate interest and enthusiasm about. And our staff has been terrific about providing me with specific examples about all kinds of cool stuff for fidgety kids, like bicycle pedals that go under the seats that just can keep your legs moving throughout the day, to standing desks, to furniture that is set on coasters so that you can move the desks in and out and change the configuration of classrooms very quickly. So we're excited, and hopefully we'll get a lot of people to come out and support the Chatham Education Foundation.
I'm sorry, not that the Scotch really piqued my interest.
April 1st.
April 1st. Yep.
Yes.
Rich didn't hear a word I said. He just goes, when I heard the Scotch, though.
Very interested in that furniture.
Education, Scotch, Fairmount, we're all good.
Everybody.
7 p.m. There's an invitation in your folder.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Somebody took my invitation.
Yes, 7 to 10 p.m.
Yes, you.
No, it's in there, it's stapled.
Excellent. Very good. I'm going to move on to music and theater boosters. The Chatham High School choruses were joined by a local voice teacher, Ken Bryson, for a series of vocal workshops on last Thursday, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. Mr. Bryson worked with a number of our students during their lunch and their scheduled chorus classes. He worked on vocal technique, energy, and expression. Mr. Bryson's visit was funded by the Chatham Music Theater Boosters, and on March 28th, Mr. Bryson will present his research on teaching students with dyslexia to the district music staff. 34 members of the Chatham High School Chorus will be performing at the historic Cathedral Basilica at Sacred Heart in Newark, on Sunday, April 17th, which is a phenomenal venue to perform at, as part of the New Jersey Festival Chorus. It is a collaborative program of all high school choruses with the Ridgewood Concert Band. The chorus is under the direction of Karen Grozorski of Somerville High School. It's $15 a ticket for a 4 p.m. concert, and you can buy tickets at the door. The Chatham High School Honors Music Recital will take place on Thursday, April 7th in the high school auditorium. There'll be 4 orchestra, 5 choral, 8 band members, and they will present their solo pieces. This is a year-long culmination of, I wouldn't say it's an independent study, but these are very complex pieces, and this is an honors level course. So if you have an opportunity to see this performance either in its entirety or part, these kids have already played Carnegie Hall, Kennedy Center. I mean, these kids are phenomenal musicians, and they've picked very complex pieces, and they're accompanied by either another student who's also a very accomplished musician, or sometimes another faculty member will assist them. But this is a phenomenal performance if you have an opportunity to come check out all or part of it. And just looking ahead to after spring break, our third grade students will be presenting their annual spring concerts at Milton Avenue, Washington and Southern on April 19th and 20th. And the annual Chatham Middle School Jazz in the Middle will take place on Thursday, April 21st, beginning at 5 p.m. at the middle school. Assuming nobody has any questions on my music report. Recreation has not met. Mr. Gilfillan is not here, but that meeting was preempted by the men's high school basketball finals. It wasn't rescheduled, so they'll just bump that to the next month, the first Tuesday of April. The PTO district cabinet, Ms.
I
Cronin,
think
has
we've
that?
met, we haven't met since the last meeting, have we?
Probably
No,
not.
it seems like we met, but I think that was,
That was prior to that,
because
I
usually
believe.
it's like the first Wednesday.
Yeah,
so-
you haven't.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, because we just met 2 weeks ago. I'd like to make a motion to pass the meetings of March 7th, the public session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Oh, just Rich. Rich abstains.
Minutes past 7:00.
Excellent, thank you. We have our first opportunity for public commentary. Just again to remind everybody the sequence. First opportunity for public commentary, then we'll go through the regular agenda. So if an item comes up on the agenda that you have a comment or question about, there's a second opportunity at the end for additional public commentary. If you wouldn't mind stepping up to the microphone on this side of the room, my right, your left, and if you could sign in and just introduce yourself. I'm just going to talk until somebody starts moving toward the mic. No? Seeing? No? None? Okay, again, there's a second opportunity. I don't want to cut anybody off. Okay, so we're going to move on to the regular agenda, and again, you have opportunity at the end. Still nobody rushing to the mic. Okay, very good. Moving on to action items, personnel first. Ms. Clark, would you mind?
Yep, I move action items A1 through, sorry, I have this written down wrong. A1 through A14, and addendum item A15 to public vote.
I'll second.
I just have a question on the addendum of 15. The two folks on that item, are those brand-new positions, or are those individuals moving from other places in the district into new positions, new roles?
So they're both replacement positions. One is to replace an individual who's transferring to another assignment in district, and the other is to replace someone who's separate from the district.
And are these two individuals new to the district?
Yes.
Okay, they're not transferring from another area, coming from outside. Great, thank you.
Beth, the reason that their termination date is June 30th, is that because the contract then starts again, or, okay, on July 1st, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grant, for working so diligently on those. I know it takes a lot of time to vet out. These are very important positions, and I know you spent a considerable amount of time on those, so thank you. And Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
Considering they both work for me, yes.
Pete's job is the thankless job. We know who does the real work. I'm only teasing. Thank you, Peter. I know those are tough jobs. Thank you both. Yeah, but HR has to get through the paperwork.
Do you want me to pull this out so we can talk about the second question on that?
No,
All right, just leave it alone.
leave it alone. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions on?
And I apologize if this was commented on, but I do see in the resignations,
Oh, we did. But you can add in.
You can add in.
outstanding. I've had dealings with her as a current student, as well as on the Board of Education, just well as a concerned parent.
Move the
Sorry.
mic closer to you, thanks.
On behalf, I would just like to express my gratitude to Ms. Quickly for the years of service she's provided to Chatham. I had the pleasure of dealing with her as a parent of a child who went to Washington, and then just as a member of the community and as a member of the Board of Education. The example she set has been outstanding, and whoever will replace her, she had to replace somebody who was here for quite some time, and she did a tremendous job, and I have full faith that the new principal will also do likewise. But I would be remiss if I did not want to express my gratitude for her years of service and dedication to the district, and more importantly, to the children. Thank you.
She was stellar. Thank you, Rich, for adding that. Was that a Freudian slip when you said the new superintendent?
I don't know how Freudian it was. No, I'm leaving first, Mike. Don't
You think your marriage job, Mike?
You like children.
My I'll see Rich at the scotch table, that's all. I'm not going further than that.
Does anybody else have any questions on the personnel items? No? Seeing none. Mr. DeQuilla, would you mind?
Sure, agenda items A1 through A15. Mr. Arnick.
Yes.
Ms. Chigarelli.
Yes.
Ms. Clark.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Ms. Cronin.
Yes.
Mr. Franz. Yes. Ms. Kenny.
Yes.
And Ms. Weber.
Yes.
Agenda items pass 8-0.
Fantastic, thank you. Moving on to finance and facilities, Ms. Cronin, would you mind?
I'd like to move action items B1 through 12.
I'll second.
Thank you. And then can I also just,
Oh, yeah, please.
Yep, all right.
Yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
we have a target donation to CMS in the amount of almost $400. And then we have a donation to the robotics team. Who is this from? Donation from Mark Stewart in the amount of $100. And $2,500 from Gail Chestnut Scholarship donation. That's a lot of money. So thank you for those donations and for having this scholarship.
Excellent. And Gail Chestnut was a longtime gym teacher here who has been a huge supporter of all sports, not just female sports, but at the time of her tenure, she was fighting an uphill battle against the men's sports. I remember during her plaque initiation, she told a story where she was kicked off the court. She was in the middle of a game because the men's team was coming on for practice and they just had to leave the court. So it was amazing. She had just commented on how far, women's sports have gone. In fact, I think your wife played under Gail Chestnut, didn't she?
Yeah, she was the coach of the girls lacrosse team and field hockey during the time when the field hockey dominated the state. And actually, the girls lacrosse team is older than the boys lacrosse team. So lacrosse started here, and she was a pioneer in her own right.
She really was amazing,
On
and
a lot of levels.
she continues to support the district, even in her retirement. So thank you again, Ms. Chestnut. Sorry, Kim, if I interrupted.
No, I'm done. That's everybody, those three.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for anybody on the Finance Committee or Mr. DeQuilla? And just to recap, we're going to submit the preliminary budget tomorrow to the county, and then the next date is May, correct? May 2nd is when we'll vote on the final budget, but right now we're looking at no increases, just the 2.55 to cover the lights on and the health insurance. Okay.
Correct.
Very good. No additional questions? Mr. DeCrowell, would you mind?
Sure,
Wait,
agenda
before-
items
Oops, I'm
B1
sorry.
Wait, can I just
Sorry.
ask one question? If a situation were to arise, like similar to this past summer where we had to have some staff where, just all of a sudden there was a bubble class and we had to add additions, are we hoping to have some breakage that we would be able to, have some flexibility, or are we really going to be close to the line and have to have an increase in class size?
We think we've been conservative, based on our numbers right now. If something is totally unforeseen, we would have to use breakage, assuming we have any.
If we have it.
Yeah, if we have it.
And if not, then we probably have to increase classroom sizes.
Or we have to transfer money from one place to another and not purchase what we were going to do, what we were going to purchase.
We're in a tight spot financially.
We're very, very tight.
Understood. Mr. DeQuilla, would you mind?
Sure, agenda items B1 through B12. Mr. Arnick.
Yes.
Ms. Chigarelli.
Yes.
Ms. Clark.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Ms. Cronin.
Yes.
Mr. Franz.
Yes.
Ms. Kenny.
Yes.
And Ms. Weber.
Yes.
Agenda items pass 8-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to policy, Mr. Franz?
No, it's curriculum.
Oh, curriculum, I'm sorry, I apologize.
I would like
Lotta?
to, no problem, I'd like to move action item C1 to C5 for vote.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions for the curriculum committee or Ms. Chase or Dr. LaSousa? All good?
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Number
Take
5,
time.
non-resident student at Milton Avenue, are they paying us? Can we charge a fee for a non-resident to?
No, our policy holds that if a student moves out of district toward the end of the year, they remain, but it still needs to be approved by the
I got
board.
you, I see, they moved out.
They're just
Right, it's not a tuition student. it's
Okay.
somebody that's
They
moved.
haven't moved out yet. They're about to move
Okay,
out.
it's fine. Got it.
Yeah, yeah, I had to read that twice this weekend, too. I apologize. Any other questions for curriculum? No? Mr. DeCola, would you mind?
Sure, agenda items C1 through C5. Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Ms. Chicarelli?
Yes.
Ms. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Connors?
Yes.
Ms. Crowe?
Yes.
Mr. Franz?
Yes.
Ms. Kenny?
Yes.
And Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 8-0.
Fantastic, thank you. Sorry, now moving on to policy. Mr. Franz?
I would like to move agenda item D1.
Is that a second reading?
A second.
Section.
I seconded.
Okay. Kim seconded. I was just saying second reading.
Yeah, no, I know.
I was not
That's why I
seconding.
was just clarifying that I was seconding. I did hear what you said.
Does anybody have any questions for the policy committee or Dr. LaSousse on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstains? You good with that, Peter?
Agenda item passes 8-0.
Thank you very much. We have board business now. Does anybody have any new board business or old board business that they would like to address? Any questions? Any questions about the budget process, the dates coming up, the fact that we have no money for anything? I have a quick question on, I think for Phil, on the rewrite of the policy, the breathalyzer policy, after speaking to the attorneys. Is that coming back up for review?
It should be coming back up. It's still,
Oh, it's still being...
we haven't, since we haven't had a meeting, we haven't formally discussed it, but it was still with the attorneys for review as far as I
Okay, very good.
understand.
I was just curious where that stood. Does anybody else have any additional board business? Any questions about the calendar that was revised for the park testing? No?
No, I'll say that we did do our screen-free day on Friday. It's kind of anticlimactic, at least I was in the several buildings, and including the high school media center for 20 minutes or so, and students were pretty unfazed. So we haven't gathered official feedback yet. We will do that. And then I'll just mention the visit from Scott Jurek last week was also pretty terrific. We had several hundred people come, and he really gave a nice presentation. It was neat.
Yeah, that was amazing. What a down-to-earth fella. Holy smokes, the guy can run 50 miles a day for 45 days, and
It was
That's-
surprising.
that's motivation.
It's amazing.
I was going to say, it's like you.
Not quite, not quite.
Mike, do you have any flavor as to how the park survey results are coming back in the district for the kid, in terms of opting in, opting out? and
I
the
don't. I
participants?
asked them on Thursday or Friday of last week. They'd only had maybe a 50% response from parents. So they were in the midst of trying to reach out to parents directly, the counselors were. And then once they had a better response rate, they were going to look at how many people were participating, how many were not.
Okay, can you let us know when you?
Will do.
Thank you.
And in their defense, they did send out a targeted email to those that didn't respond with a date that they were supposed to respond by today, so they are continuing to reach out.
They're working on it.
They are working on it. And it was targeted to those, it specifically said you haven't responded yet and we need your response, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
I just want to
It's
test.
your anniversary. You can't be boggled down with these small details.
Comments, you can go home and see your
Yes.
husband.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Any other board business? No? We have our second opportunity for public commentary. Mr. Heat, Mr. Osler. No?
Bill Heap, Chatham Borough. I have a question about healthcare.
We all have questions about that there.
I know. There probably isn't a board member or a person in this town over the course of the last several years that hasn't had their health benefits, what's a good word to use? Adjusted, maybe? And a 19% increase is staggering, especially since we're all told that inflation is close to zero. Do you have a plan for adjusting the district's healthcare benefits?
Yeah, well, do you want to talk about this, Mike? Do you want to reply to it?
Or confronting, maybe? I'm not quite sure what the word is.
No, we talked about this in the open finance meeting. Do you want to?
Yes, last year we had a very meager increase. We ended up at about 0%. So the 19 is not what we experienced a year ago. There are really two paths, I guess, that we've been taking. Obviously, we're continuing to explore other alternatives. We began offering a couple of years ago a high deductible health plan that is cheaper in terms of premium costs than other plans. We're in contract negotiations right now with our Teachers Association, and of course, health insurance is an item that we're discussing. The contributions on the part of all of the public employees has increased, and we've initiated a wellness initiative to try to become healthier as an organization in kind of a hope to rein in some costs over time. But that's really where we are. As we mentioned during the Open Finance Committee meeting, about half of the districts, maybe even the majority of school districts in New Jersey, are part of the state employees health benefits plan. We are privately insured, and we still are about 20% less expensive than the state employees health benefits plan. If we reach a point where we become more expensive, it would make it more likely or attractive for the board to want to move into the state employees health benefits plan. But even with a 19% increase, we are still not at that point.
We've gone out, we've had, we're looking at other carriers, we've gotten some other bids, and, like Mike said, we're looking at as many options as possible. We even talked about,
Kim, I want Mike.
oh, sorry, I don't know, I usually have a big enough mouth, I don't need one. So, I mean, you heard what I just said, right? And then,
The big enough mouth part?
I just said that we've, soliciting bids from other carriers, and we also talked about whether or not we could merge with some of the other districts to try and get better, group rates, but that's presented its own set of challenges. But we are trying to do whatever we can to see if we can get these things down.
At some point, deductibles are going to have to go up, co-pays, all
Yeah,
of
and
those
we have,
kinds of
all
things.
of those things have, and then, they have, but.
What about, I haven't heard any talk recently about the Cadillac tax. Does anybody know whether that's going to kick in or not, or whether it's been pushed aside?
It's been postponed again, or maybe not again, but it's been postponed, I think, until 2019.
Okay.
But we know as much as anybody else would about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heath. Any additional questions or comments from the public commentary? No? Okay, well, seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the public session. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Please drive safely. Tom, thank you again.
Thank you.